So in the previous video, we've exposed a REST API as a GraphQL API. This was the product page API that was running in the Kubernetes cluster with the different services, product page, reviews, rating, and so on. Here we are going to expose a new API, but that is going to be an external service. So again, we create this API doc to provide the GraphQL schema. But this time, you see we are going to define an external service for this openlibrary.org. And that shows you that we can expose through the gateway as a GraphQL API an external REST endpoint. Could be an API provided by a virtual machine or a public API, doesn't really matter. And again, we create the resolver map where we define that to resolve this schema that we provided before, we need to send a request to this openlibrary.org on this path, providing some additional query params and doing like a transformation again with JQ. So I can create this and I can create my schema that will combine the API doc and the resolver map. And after that, I can create my route table to expose this API. You see this option also that's quite interesting for testing log sensitive info. You can then go into the logs of the gateway and see a lot of debug information showing you what are the REST calls that are sent to the backends and so on. So if there is something wrong, you can troubleshoot easily what's going on. So we have exposed this API. Now I can send this query. I want the product title and I want the different languages that are available for this book, which is the same book that is returned by the Bookinfo API. So you can see nicely I can get all the different languages, and what we are going to do now is that stitching these things together, a little bit like we stitched together these two APIs when we did the video on the developer portal. If you have watched them, what we are going to do is that we are going to stitch together these APIs. Again, we are going to do that declaratively, right? Which is kind of a game changer. I have these two APIs that I have defined in the platform. I could even stitch together an API provided by a third-party GraphQL server like Apollo, stitch that together with an API that I have created that way. But here I'm going to stitch together the two different APIs I have created, the one for the product page and the one for this open library. And you see I just need to create this GraphQL stitch schema. Again, declaratively I will say I want to stitch together these two APIs and I want to stitch them on this title, basically. So they have the same title for this book and I want to stitch these things together. So I update my route table. In that case, you see I have I'm using a new prefix GraphQL stitched, and I'm not providing like a GraphQL schema, but instead I am providing a GraphQL stitch schema. So I can set this here, and now I can use this new endpoint and I can basically again ask for this product for home, so the same I did before, but in that case I'm going to add this language, right? So you remember here I was like able to provide this query in the Explorer. Now I have a new stitch API and I still have this product for home. As you see here, I have this new option now, languages, right? So I can run that, and well, I didn't put the right endpoint here, so obviously it's not going to work. If I remember correctly, this is something like that. Is it like stitched. So it is GraphQL stitched. Let me just like take this here and rerun. Yeah, I made a mistake somewhere probably. Oh yeah, I didn't change that again, sorry. So copy this and that stuff here. That looks a lot better. And now I can run it. So you can see I can combine these things together. So the first API I was having, I didn't have this language option. I said, okay, these languages options is provided by another GraphQL API. I stitch them together, and now I can, in one API, retrieve both the information about this book and the languages that this book is available. So again, I could just use like curl here, but I wanted to show you again that you can do that in the UI.